Oh, they talked about the African Americans. I hate when they talk about us like we're this thing that lives under the stairs. All right, so here's the thing, guys. This was not a debate. If someone tells you that this was a debate you just watched, you already cut your cord. Just go ahead and cut them off. If they tell you this was a debate, and worse than that, if they have the audacity to tell you somebody won this shit, remove them from your life permanently. No one won. No one. You can't win a contest of throwing feces at one another. You're both covered in it at the end of the day. Even if you don't get hit, it's all over your hands. Okay, so you can't win a feces throwing contest because you have to pick up feces and throw it. By definition, there's no winners. Anyone, and I do mean anyone, if my mama called me up and said, Biden won, I'd be like, Mom, that's it. We're not talking no more. That's it. Mom would be put on timeout for an indefinite period of time. Anyone who says that there was a winner in this is full of shit. This was horrible. This was an embarrassment to all Americans, expatriate Americans, people in South America, of all the Americas. This was an embarrassment to the human race. This was a catastrophe of epic proportions. This was lousy. This was despicable. There were people in previous debates who complained about the structure of the debates. They complained, oh, Bernie's talking too much, or this person's interrupting, or this person's being rude. Oh my God, it got 6 people on the stage. And people are, listen, tonight's, whatever this was, made those debates that seemed insufferable. This made them look like a perfectly well-oiled machine. This was the worst thing I've seen in a while. And I've seen some bad things. I've seen some horrible, this was a catastrophe. I want to share with you key points. There weren't many. Most of it was, your son's a crackhead, this guy. Now, there was one high point of this. There was a high point of this. It was when Joe Biden called Donald Trump a clown. Yeah, that's trending. That's how bad this was. Joe Biden called Donald Trump a clown, and it was trending, and people applauded it. See, my point is that we have devolved to a point where it's over. When the party of we need to go aim high and swing low and swing low chariot and all this shit, and then when it's down to it, oh, Biden called him a clown. This is great. This is great. No, it's not so great. Because if it would have been the other way, you would have said it was the end of the world. You'd have said, that's it. Get out your passports, because they all threaten to leave the country. So it's just hypocritical. It wasn't good. Now, there were parts that were funny if you're sadistic. Yeah, there were funny parts if you are a person who just wants to watch train wrecks. If you if you drive past car accidents and go, this is cool. Like if you have joy, if you spend your Sundays cruising to witness carnage on the expressway, if you watch NASCAR, don't know what's going on, but just looking for an accident, then this was your show. This is what tonight's show was. I don't care. Look, Chris Wallace was horrible, okay? I'm not going to blame him for everything, but at some point, you just got to go punch a guy in the stomach to shut him up. You got to cut a mic. You got to shut him up. You got to control it. You got to do something. And if I have one more person say, Joe Rogan should have moderated, Joe would have been so high, he wouldn't have known what was going on. Let's just keep it real. Enough worshiping the high guy. And I got no problems with people doing drugs. This would have took Samuel L. Jackson, that level. That's who could have, that's the perfect moderators for this thing. John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, Pulp Fiction, when they let off shots. That's what it would have took. But Chris Wallace, man, was way too passive, way too. I mean, to his credit, it's hard as hell, I gotta imagine, to try to corral this thing. There was supposed to be things that they focused on. It's a formless. Everyone took the questions and just did what they wanted to do with them. Yeah, Chris Wallace would be like, okay, we want to talk about the COVID-19. And then Trump would take it, the COVID-19 question, and discombobulate it, and twist it, and turn it, and rip his head off it, chew on it, and do something else with it, and bounce it on the floor, and then throw it in a wastebasket. And then Chris Wallace would be like, well, that's not really what I wanted. But okay, fine. Joe Biden, your turn. And then Joe Biden would take it and drool all over it and talk about his son and talk about some other intangible, abstract thing. But then he'd have a thought that was kind of cohesive. Trump would start off somewhat like he had sense, and then he would end up somewhere else. He'd start out in the middle of the lane, and then he would end up in the bushes down by the lake, swimming in his car. His car would be swimming in the lake, and he would just be, that's where he'd be. Then Joe Biden would go down to the lake, get in the car, drive it for a while, try to put it back up on the road, and then he would go down into the valley of death. Run over a couple coyotes. This went on for way longer than a human being should have to sit through. Like none of y'all should have to sit through this. I shouldn't have to sit through it. Someone text me like, Tim. My friend Rob texted me like, Tim, bro, what you doing, man? I know you're not watching. I know you're not watching that. You can't be. You can't. I cut it off in 30 seconds. I cut it off so quick. I got remote rash. As when your thumb is so quick to hit the next thing, it scraped off, the skin on his thumb was gone. There are a couple things here that are important. I mean, all of it was supposed to be important because this was for who's going to be, the leader of the freed, I don't know what you call this. Please do me a favor, share this on your social media, because what I can't stand is a bunch of partisan hacks making this about them fighting for their guy. This is not about fighting for their guy. All of them. Please share this. Please share this. Let them know you're watching me, because this is important, guys. Because the problem I see, look, I don't even fault Trump. Trump, he ain't a human being like a regular human being. And Biden's so full of it. This was the colliding of our worst. Okay, and anyone who paints it any other way than that is just despicable. You're a horrible individual. Now, it's one thing when you're a horrible individual and you're paid multiple millions of dollars and your name was Rachel Maddow, Joy Reid, Chuck Todd, Sean Hannity, Greg Gutfeld. When you're one of these people, okay, I get it. Your soul is gone. You have no soul. You're not even alive right now. You're not even alive. You're a corpse with the ability of speech. Someone has possessed your body a long time ago. But independent media should not be picking winners and losers out of this. There was only winner in this was the devil. That's it. The losers was all of us. We all lost. They don't lose. Joe Biden said, hey, man, if I lose this election, I will respect it and you'll go on with life. Nothing will fundamentally change for Joe Biden, whether he wins or loses. He's lost elections before. This is his third time running for president. He's fine with losing. Donald Trump wants the world to end if he loses. He doesn't care. if we devolve into a species of cannibals that eat the old, then work our way back to the young until we end up eating babies and may the strongest survive. This is what this thing was. But there are a couple things I would like to express that are very important that came out of this. One of those things is this, and regardless of what anyone says, know this. But we're doomed. We're screwed. We're fucked. That's what it is. That's what you are. You are screwed. Say it with me. I'm screwed. If you're counting on these guys for anything. Anything. Like if this is what's separating us between catastrophe, Armageddon, annihilation. If it's based on these two guys, that's it, man. You and the lady take a bottle of wine, go to the rooftop, and make love. That's it. And insert whoever is your significant other. That's how bad this was. I don't want anyone to be deluded here and to think that there's a leader and there's a real president. There's somebody who's going to make things look a little bit calmer. Yeah, there's someone here running. His name is Joe Biden. He will give you the impression that, everything's fine. Oh, this is okay. This is normal. It's normal where all the tax code favor the rich. Oh, it's normal where corporations are treated better than people. It's normal that we have a corrupt system. This is normal. This is business as usual. That's what your choice is. And the other choice is, this is not normal. This is scary as hell. But sometimes you can laugh at it if you don't care about who dies or who lives. That's what this became. One thing that did stick with me in the beginning of this thing was about healthcare. And it's important that we point this out. Donald Trump does not have a plan for your healthcare. If you are a conservative person and you care about healthcare, Donald Trump has no plan for it. He just wants to repeal Obamacare. That's all he wants to do. He's been in office almost 4 years. He's been trying to repeal it since he walked in the door, and he really doesn't have a plan. If you're going to replace something, you should have a substitute for it. What if you actually do? It seems to me that he's really not trying to get rid of it, because if you're trying to get rid of something and you know it's something that people need, that people use, you would have a substitute. He doesn't really have a substitute in mind. So that right there, guys, if you're thinking Trump won this, if you're a person who cares about healthcare, he couldn't possibly win it. If you got older parents, aging parents, people with pre-existing conditions, any of that at all in your life, if you have any empathy, sympathy at all for anybody who does, if you are a human being basically with a pulse, who cares about other human beings, who's not a psychotic, a sociopath, then you cannot say with any dignity, an infinitesimal amount of respect for human life, should you say that Donald Trump won this debate. He was exposed as not caring about that. Not really. Not enough to do the work. And mind you, he didn't have to do the work. He hires people to do this. On the same token, and it's going to be a lot of same tokens, Joe Biden didn't care enough to treat healthcare like he would be willing to treat the the emissions and the methane in the air. Because he says he's willing to spend trillions of dollars cleaning up the environment, but he's not willing to shut down the insurance companies to make sure everyone has healthcare. So he wants you to be able to breathe clean air, but he doesn't want you healthy enough to be able to breathe it. Basically, that's what I'm telling you. So Biden's not willing to make sure everyone can get covered, and he doesn't think it's a human right that you get covered, but he doesn't want you to lose your coverage. So he's really just a hypocrite and basically just in the pocket of Big Pharma. They're both in the pocket of Big Pharma. Trump's all the way in the pocket. Biden kind of wants to be able to stick his head out the pocket a little bit. Just a little bit. Just enough to get your vote. Trump tried to tie Bernie to Biden. Biden did his best to let you know he don't roll with Bernie. Bernie ain't nothing to him. Screw Bernie. He beat Bernie like a drum. That's what he says. And Trump says, well, no, you really didn't. Elizabeth Warren stayed in it. That's why you beat him, you know. And the thing about it, and I know it felt good to hear it, right? It feels good to hear that. But know this, it's a trick. Trump's tricking you like he cares about Bernie or you or healthcare or any of it, other than winning. Don't be so easy. Neither one of these, remember, go back to the beginning. I said it, rewind it. Neither one of these guys are good, and they both suck. Both parties suck, and no one won this thing. So don't think just because Trump said something that you like doesn't mean he's the guy. Neither are the guy. Neither one of them should be in line to be the guy. COVID-19, a very important subject. People are dying from it. I know if you're a person who doesn't believe it exists, you're on the wrong channel. I humbly ask you to get lost. Another important thing happened tonight was Donald Trump admitted that he wears masks. He actually pulled out a mask on national TV and said, I got no problem with masks. What's wrong with masks? Oh my God, you're the same guy who wouldn't admit that for months. You! Who's this guy? Where's the guy who wouldn't wear one if you tied him down? What happened to that guy? That guy was just here. He was here a while ago. He wasn't that long ago. February, March, April, the guy who was like hedging, like, hey, we really got to wear masks. They had to so all the Trump, I sent out a tweet, all you Trump supporters, your God has spoken, you can wear a mask now. Get out there and get a mask on. All you people taking videos, dancing in Target, dancing. Fight the power. No mask. Fight the power. Fight the power. Revolution. Well, I thought it was funny when Trump said, and there were several times when Trump was funny. He said, well, I wear a mask when I need to wear a mask when I'm around people. I seen Biden, no one's around him for 250 feet. He's got a mask on. It's kind of stupid, but yeah, it's not going to be a partisan thing. They don't deserve. There were times, guys, when I really felt like I haven't been outside the country, but I felt like I wondered if other countries are like this. Like it was a few times I felt that way. Like when Trump, he went from calling it the Kung flu to the China plague, coronavirus. I felt, wow, this. I wonder if other countries do this. Trump talked about, Biden tried to hit Trump on holding rallies and putting people in harm's way because he held rallies during the shutdown. And Trump said, well, no one comes out to see you, Joe. No one cares about you. No one would come to a Biden rally. So it's easy for you not to hold rallies because you don't attract crowds. I attract crowds. If you attracted crowds like I attract crowds, you would hold rallies. And I kind of felt like, yeah, maybe he's got a point. Easy to lean into the whole, I don't need to hold rallies because I don't want anybody to get sick. When wouldn't anybody come out anyway? I mean, just say it. It's sort of like the guy who says, doesn't ask the girl for a date because he says he doesn't like her, but he knows he can't get her anyway. So that kind of felt a little bit like that. Like, I didn't like you anyway. Hey, you want to dance? What? Oh, nothing. They talked about taxes. Yeah, they had a conversation about taxes. Oh, no, I'm surprised it came up, aren't you? Donald Trump, your taxes for all other things, you can't lump them in. Trump really was not going to answer questions. And I get it. If the answer is not an answer you want to give, then you run. You're Trump. You just run. You run. I just want Trump supporters to know that doesn't make him a winner because he avoids answering questions. It doesn't make him a winner. He's still talking about releasing tax forms. He's been in office 4 years. He's still talking about any day now he's going to release his tax reforms. You know that meme of the woman waiting on the perfect man and she's a skeleton on a bench? That's Trump supporters. Just admit you don't care if he's been lying to you. You're too far in now. You're gone too far with him. You can't turn back. Yes, he beats you and he doesn't pay the mortgage and he treats the children badly. But, hey, you left home for him. Oh, they talked about the African Americans. I hate when they talk about us like we're this thing that lives under the stairs. You know? They talk about black people like we're this weird, mythical creature, like leprechauns. Joe Biden, he saunters in, he says, Trump is not the savior of the African Americans. This guy's not the savior of African Americans. And I'm thinking, are you suggesting you are? And that's when Trump, he saw an opening and he swung. And he caved in the whole left side, the other left, the whole left side, well, your left, the whole left side of Biden's ribcage. All his ribs went to one side. And he brought up the crime bill. And I wanted to clap because I know he did that. I know that Biden helped build mass incarceration. He was the architect. So the people that hate Trump for the 5 kids, the 5 black kids, right? I don't even want to call it. The 5 young men who he wanted to have executed for a crime they didn't commit in New York. Those people who are on that, and I get it, I'm with it too. He was wrong as hell. He took out an ad. He was pandering to the worst of New York when he did it. Trump, okay? What is it? Somebody say it in the comment section because I'm getting it wrong. Someone say it. The 5, Come on now. The Central Park 5, thank you. Desert Mantis, thank you, Desert Mantis. And I hate the fact that Trump did that. That's bigoted garbage shit. It is low-hanging fruit. It's him using race, and this is what Trump has done. He uses race in order to get a benefit for himself in some way, shape, or form. He knows the buttons to push. He pushed the race card and the white woman got attacked by black people card to vilify black people, ingratiate himself. He was hoping to get into politics. This was his foray. Okay? Despicable, self-serving bastard is what he is and is what he was. And I hate it. I detest it with every fiber of my being as not only a black man, but as a human being. I detest it. It's disgusting. I rebuke it, Satan. Satan, get from me. Get from me. But on the same token, if you're going to have a problem with that, you don't have a problem with Joe Biden being the architect of the 94 crime bill that locked up black people like hotcakes. If you don't have a problem with that and you go, oh, that's not, why are you bringing that up? It was the sign of the times. It was back in the day. Well, then you are a hypocrite and you should shut the hell up. Okay? All I'm saying is be consistent in your outrage. I am consistent. I don't want neither one of these guys. You, on the other hand, make excuses for Joe Biden. I will not. And I'm glad that Donald Trump called out Joe Biden. And no, it's not my job to make sure Trump gets out or that Biden gets in. I don't want that on my conscience, Johnson. You can have at it. There really was no response or comeback from Joe Biden. And I noticed that Chris Wallace didn't make there be one either. No, he didn't. Because there really is nothing to say about locking up black people like hotcakes and throwing away the key. And you said a lot of bad things about black people. It's on tape, Joe. And Joe squirmed around and smiled and called Trump names, but it didn't change that was a very solid blow. And I was sold by the idea that you think somebody got to be our savior. It ain't that's horrible. It's a horrible thing to say. But I'm sure there'll be people out to do damage control on that. If they aren't already out, they're probably immediately after. They probably all ran out. The Negro whisperers ran out to calm down the regular black folks who didn't like the comment. I'm sure they came out to blacks, to Biden-splain it. Or white-splain it or whatever. But as I said, Trump could start off strong and then end up in the ravine. He did it again. He started off talking about how he'd be good for black people and no one's doing more for the blacks than I've done. And then he ended up somewhere talking about law and order and cracking down on black people and locking them. That's what he's talking about. I don't know where it comes from. How do you start off talking about healing race relations in the country and end your 2 minutes on healing race relations to talk about locking people up in law and order? It doesn't make sense. It's like so for all the talk about Joe Biden gets lost, Trump got lost just as much as Joe Biden. They both lost in the mall. They're both at the supermarket. They don't know where the car is. They got to set off the alarm to find the car. But first they have to find their keys. It's in the produce section when you picked up the pineapples. And speaking of pineapples, if Joe Biden, he's defending cops with the same we just got a few bad apples. A few bad apples. If we just take care of the bad apples, man. Come on, man. We just got a few bad apples. I am so tired of white guys using the apple analogy. I mean, it's insulting as hell that you can't call out white supremacy, that you can't call out corruption, that you can't call out mass incarceration or racial profiling, any of these things. Not really. Not really. You get one buzzword and you run with it. But the least you could do, Savior Joe, is you could come up with a new analogy. At least pick a new fruit. I mean, I, for one, I'm tired of hearing about apples and bad apples. How about a bad pear? Yeah, what about bad pears? At least switch up the fruit. Oh, how about oysters? That's more apt. Yeah, how about oysters? Some cops, we have bad oysters. Because a bad oyster will kill you. A bad apple will make you sit on the potty for a while. A bad oyster will cancel Christmas. That's what bad oysters do, and that's what bad cops do. So, yeah, let's stop using fruit. Let's use bad seafood. A bad shellfish will kill you. This makes more sense, doesn't it? Yeah, this is one of the times I would love to be in front of a live audience for this one, because I think that would have made sense. I'm just going to have to imagine the black people going like this and some people going, I don't know what you're talking about. You talking about some voices? I don't know. In this segment, the same Joe Biden who was so offended when his running mate Kamala Harris implied that he was racist, he calls Trump racist. He said, no, man, you're the racist, man. You're the racist. And we got two obviously racist guys calling each other racist. Man, that's what I just like, hey, man, can I get some money for all this racism that I've been subjected to? Can I get a black check, something? Trump did a lot of fear-mongering during this segment as well. There's a lot of fear-mongering. A lot of uh-oh. And there was some good points that Biden had, too. He's like, you keep talking about the suburbs, man. This ain't the 50s. There is no suburbs. Me and Obama made sure of that. There's no suburbs. Yeah, we gentrified everything, and we got rid of all of them. Biden made it very clear that he's not for defunding the police. No, he wants to fund the police, and he wants to arrest protesters. And he's not against arresting protesters and anyone who does any violence. Now, there's a part here you're going to hear a lot about No, I guess, hold on, let's stay here on the defund for a second. Biden did say something that was interesting about defunding. And of course, Trump's playing the whole law and order and I restore order and I'm a white man, I restore order. Okay, fine. So we know his spiel. But Biden said something about that I found was interesting. He was saying how he wants to give cops more money so that they can have mental health professionals with them when they go on these calls. I thought that was interesting. I hadn't heard that before. So you don't want to defund the police, but you want to give them more money? Why not make it an outside agency? Why don't we employ other people and pay them? Why do you have to keep giving the money to the cops? What is it with you and the cops? Speaking of cops, Trump was very happy, very proud of his cop affiliations and his endorsements from police departments. And he asked Joe Biden to name one, and Joe Biden couldn't name one. And Chris didn't make it. And it's fine with me. Not a big fan of the police union. I know you said you shocked, right? You're like, what? Yeah. Now we come to the part where there's going to be a lot of play. You're going to hear about this for the next 3-4 days. They're going to run this as much as possible. It's about Antifa and white supremacy. Antifa and white supremacy. Good. Donald Trump would not condemn white supremacy. And Biden would not condemn Antifa. So now I'm not saying, no, they wanted Trump to also to get rid or to denounce the Proud Boys. Now, he kind of said he was going to do it, and then he had a second thought like, I might be able to get some votes out of them. And then when you can see it running in his head, you can see him doing the math. Through his toupee, you can see him adding, subtracting numbers like, okay, if I say this, will this hurt me? Trump's become very much a politician. He's like, did I? And it's like, start looking like Sinbad up there. Just. And Biden was like pushing for him to do it. Like, yeah. His teeth was about to fall. He's like, yeah, say it, Trumpy, say it. And he's like, well, no, I won't. I'm not going to say it because I might lose a couple of votes. And hey, I ain't a racist, but I got a lot of racists vote for me. They vote for Biden too. It was just hilarious. And it's become a thing. It's become a thing. And it's right back to where we were with the, there was a couple parts where like Joe Biden, he started bringing up his son and it got bad. Guys, I'm just telling you, this was bad. This was horrible. This was not a debate. This was a series of shots at one another. Veiled threats, shots, and disses. This was like a rap battle. You know what I'm saying? But the only difference is no one's in the parking lot waiting on you. Do they even do that anymore? They used to. We used to do that. It used to be like, you got. Oh, that was smooth what you said. I see you at the car. For real? This is about skills. Yeah, it's gonna be about some skills. All right, come on. We'll see you over there. It was just horrible. Then it got to the question. Started winding down. Chris Wallace looked like he'd been abused. He literally looked like he should be in a witness protection program, just trying to moderate this thing. And it got to a point where it's like, okay, we're winding down. Why should America pick you? They started with Trump, and Trump began being his humble self. Because I've done more than anyone's ever done before in the history of man. I've done more. I received this horrible economy. Wasn't horrible when you got it. Received this horrible economy. The country, the fire was raining from the sky. Children were selling crack to their teachers, and the teachers were selling sex to their janitors, and janitors were shooting up the schools, and all these things were going on at the same time. And then Trump came in. Me and Trump and the Melania, we came in, and we gave you the greatest economy with the lowest unemployment numbers ever in the history of unemployment numbers. The same numbers I told you before were garbage and you couldn't trust them. Now, since it's me, you got to believe in this solemn, this is the best thing. You can count on him. And then Biden, he had a chance. He says, well, you need to switch from Trump because I'm the savior of the blacks And I got Kamala with me. She's the savior of the Asians and the blacks and the everybody else, Asians and Indians, and we got it all covered. She just announced that she may be trans or bi or something, and now we got everybody covered. But he says you need to pick Joe Biden because the country's never been weaker, it's never been poorer, it's never been more divided, and it's never been sicker. I was like, wow, that's a lot of bad. That's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. So they both did doomsday scenarios if the other guy gets to stay in. Horrible, the world, that's it, it's over, wrap it up. Hope you enjoyed it. Oh, you only got to be 16? Sorry. It's over now. Should have been born 20 years ago. It's okay. There'll be an afterlife in Mar-a-Lago. Biden called, he said that Trump was Putin's puppet. No, puppy. He meant to say puppet. They both start with P. It's been a long night. Then they got on the subject of climate change. I thought that was interesting. This is the part where Joe Biden talks about he wants to spend a lot of money on climate change to save your life, but he doesn't want to literally save your life by spending money on health insurance or health coverage or Medicare for all. Didn't ring true, but okay. But they try to corner Trump in. Trump gave a couple of consignments. Trump caved on a couple things. He caved on the mask, and he caved on climate change. All of a sudden, Trump believes in the science. And I'm like, where'd this guy come from? He believes in science now. He says, do you believe in climate change? Yes. But we need to do better forest management. And I'm like, what? This is amazing. Suddenly, Trump believes that things we do affect the atmosphere. He's never admitted this. And I expected everything to shut down and pause and Chris to go back over this and be like, what the hell did you just say? But he didn't. He let Biden drone on and talk about emissions and cow farts and some other crap. This was an important part of the conversation. But no. Biden talked about creating hundreds of thousands of jobs with green infrastructure. Sounded a lot like Obama, and it sounded like a lot what Obama said that never happened, by the way. Same stuff that Obama ran on for 8 years and never implemented it. Where are the hundreds of thousands of jobs that Obama, you were there, Biden. No one crossed him. No one asked him what, didn't this the same? You sound like you're saying the same stuff you guys said that you didn't do, that now you're going to do it. Wow. How much more smoke up the ass are you supposed to buy, America? That's all I'm saying. At some point, you got to say, you know what? At least come up with fresh lies. Yeah, Biden, like, if you're going to lie to me, at least come up with a new one. Out of respect. Invent a new fantasy. Then it just got off the rails. They talked about mail-in ballots. Trump tried to convince you that they're still in the election using mail-in ballots. Biden hit him back with, we use mail-in ballots all the time. You've been voting mail-in ballot in Florida your damn self, and what's the problem? And it's just back and forth, and I stopped. And by this point, the knife that I had put to my wrist, I was really considering using it. But I didn't want to get it on my blazers. I was like, And I really thought about ending it all. Being forced to watch this in order to get you to subscribe to the channel, to become a member of the show. I'm happy. I'm torturing myself. This is damn near a snuff film. Tim Black hadn't to watch this. This was the worst. This was the worst debate. It wasn't even a debate. That's changing the definition of a debate. A debate is a topic. You say something, I say something, we counter. That's not what happened. So basically, guys, so there is no winners. No winners but us sinners. chicken dinners, pull out your innards. Bruce Jenner. The spinners. I don't know. This was a display. This was an embarrassment to people, all people who had the witnesses. And frankly, okay, but I do want to say this. I'm not going to say anybody won. I will say Biden did a good job of not taking the bait, which was a concern. I think if you're a Biden supporter, you should have been concerned with that. Because that's what Trump wanted. Trump was just throwing stuff. Oh, I'm going to get him pissed off. I'm going to rattle his cage. And he succeeded a couple times. It's not like Biden didn't go for it. Because Trump kept going after Hunter. He kept going after Hunter. And then Biden, he tried not to take the bait, but then he took the bait. And that's when Trump hit him in the ribs really good. Because people are kind of wondering why your son got all this money to do a job he'd never done before. You know, and I really didn't know all about his drugs thing. The only job he ever had is when you were vice president, he used your name to get a job. So this was bad. This was horrible. This is bad. Didn't look good. Didn't sound good. And then there were times when Biden would talk, you would hear his campaign ads playing in the background, his campaign music like Charlottesville and the light, the point three. All I was waiting for 3 points of light or they hate us for our freedom or something. Because Biden has a tenacity to plagiarize a bit. But anyway, it's another video. The point is there were high points and low points. But I think it's also evident. I want Trump supporters to brace themselves for this. I'm not going to say I was wrong because I did say that I thought that Trump would win this debate. I wasn't wrong because there was no winner. So actually, I kind of technically was wrong because there's no winner to this debate. But I will say this. Some of Trump's antics reeked of desperation. It looked a little bit like he was desperate. Because you don't push that many buttons in that rapid succession. He was like hitting them buttons. You know, he was hitting the buttons pretty quick. And I'm like, he's hitting buttons pretty quick. And to me, it just felt like this was a guy who needed to hit the buttons. That's all I'm saying. Now, I'm not saying he won or lost, but the button hitter looks a little bit like he's more going after it. And Biden was more laid back, and he called you and said, hey, man, what's up, man? Like in the beginning, he's like, hey, man, how you doing, man? You know, he's more laid back. So, so that's a concern. Maybe some of the data that they're reading, maybe all the polls aren't lying. Maybe Trump's a little concerned. Maybe he's not doing so well because he was very aggressive. He was very aggressive. And I know it's sort of his style, but and I don't know, I just felt like Biden had an agenda, which was he had to ruffle the feathers of Trump had an agenda of ruffling Biden. I felt that was his strategy, and I don't think he succeeded in really ruffling him to the extent he wanted to. There were some moments, but not the way he wanted. Biden did better than Rubio, okay? He did better than Cruz. He did not, and I think that has to do with basically just experience. Yeah, I think that had to do with experience. I think a Jeb Bush would have fell for it and looked for the ref to rescue him. And Biden didn't. So that was good on Biden. Now, what's not so good on Biden is he is going to have to get a little bit more aggressive, and maybe he will have to knock Trump out. You can't just Trump is a sitting president. I don't think you just beat a sitting president by kind of just being nicer, the nicer version. You're going to have to come back and knock Trump out. That's what's gonna take, I think. I think people believe the polls a little bit too much, and they have Biden ahead, and I think Biden, he must realize, I think he should realize that if you're gonna beat Trump, you're gonna have to beat him. You ain't gonna just back into a presidency. That's what I believe. But there you go, guys. No winners, only losers, us. And Unfortunately, we have at least 2 more of these. Plus, we have a vice presidential debate coming up. Also, unfortunately, I have to watch both of those, and you won't have to watch either one. Isn't it great for you? But honestly, and I just want to bring it down, and I just want you to know this was not good. This was not a good look. One of these people are going to be your president, and that's not good. Okay? And I don't care who you are, you should not want that. Okay? If you want that, there's a problem with you. And you have a cognitive dissonance to what's really happening. Right? You either are nostalgic for a time that never existed when all was right with the world and Obama was president. That means you are delusional because all was not right with the world. It will never be right with the world again. And it definitely wasn't right with the world then, especially if your house was gone or you got sent to one of these wars that Obama loves sending us to. And if you think that Trump is the answer, then you are also suffering from something. It's a mental breakdown. You're either you're listening to Rush Limbaugh way too much, and that's if you listen to him at all, that's way too much. Him, Adam Carolla, these people. Don't do it. The guy from Valuetainment, any of these people, don't. Because you think this guy who's not that great a businessman, but talks a good game. This guy, you think he has the plans to solve the problems. He really doesn't. He has a plan to solve his problem. He wants to be president. He wants to rule the world. He's president. That's his problem. That's not solving your problem. That does not solve your problems. You think it does. Meanwhile, you just die of COVID-19, and that's it. So this is where we are. No winners tonight, only losers. And we get to do this all over again. So that's it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Become a member of the Tim Black Wolfpack. I'm going to read comments, go through super chats, do the whole thing. I want to thank everybody who tuned in and shared this. And I appreciate you. We do this. I do a live show Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And so be here, be a part of it. Tuesdays and Fridays, if you're new, we do a phone show, a call-in show. And I don't screen calls. So we don't do phone calls tonight only because of the extended nature of doing a debate. But come back Friday and have time to think about this stuff and call the show and voice your opinion. Okay? Because that's what we do. On a typical Tuesday, the phone lines would have been open. Okay? But I had to get this out because people want to know about the debates and they didn't want to watch it. So, okay.